Yeah, isn't it? Because we're definitely guilty of being the people who are like, well, Lambo could do it. And actually, the amount of times that Lambo has done it, very, very, very few.
But he's come so close so often, right?
Kind of.
Kinda?
Even in game score, he's only a 26% win record in their entire career.
Okay, the stats lies, Yuji. I'm just gonna say it. The stats do not reflect the way I think of this series at all, so I'll be that caster that keeps the hype up. As in the bottom right, from Basilisk, we're gonna start off with the red Zerg player. A lot of people were waiting for his game today. It is Serral.
In the top left says the blue Zerg, it is Lambo for the Shopify Rebellion.
Now, sometimes, honestly, I think back, and I'm sure there's been a bunch of times where Serral's just, stomped Lambo out or something. It's just like we haven't noticed it, but like, I guess it's that kind of fallacy of like, I remember all the times it was kind of close, where Lambo did get to Game 5, where he did, was up in the finals and then lost in Game 7. It feels like there was so many times, like to me, there's that's always what I think of. Obviously, there's a bunch of times where Serral just beats Lambo, and hence the score ends up as 26% in maps. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's crazy though, because what's crazier about it is that this might make it sound like we've made up how close this is. And I guess in a way that we kind of have, this has not always been close. In fact, very much not so. But it may be a lot closer than any other Serral matchup. That's what's crazy about it, right? Is that we could probably look at a lot of Serral's history with a lot of players in the region and see perhaps similar stats. But because it's a different matchup, we just, we give this one a little more of that volatility chance, right? So, you could really just TLDR it. Serral's pretty freaking good. And even at his weakest matchup, he's still probably the best, if not one of two best at it.
yeah. So I think that's a very fair statement. It's I feel like you can open all Serral's games like, oh, well, he's really good. Duh. So
yeah.
Expect him to be good, and turns out he's also good in the matchup he's worse at because he's still just Serral. So we'll see what comes out. Obviously, we saw Serral. He did fall in Katowice to the ZVZ, and I'd say that's pretty much the only time I've really seen Serral look shaky lately. I'm trying to think when the last time I really saw Serral not looking so hot was, and I don't really have an answer for you. He lost to Max Pax in a series in the last month, I think, and other than that, since Katowice, I feel like he's just been on an absolute tear. So yeah, he is in tip-top shape.
Yeah, someone brought up his stats actually since Katowice, which I will look up eventually, but we do have an all-in on the way, so I think we should emphasize this. Lambo going to try and do something aggressive with that Roachborn being kind of hidden in the main base very early on, definitely pointing to a hatchery all-in.
Yep, Roachborn hidden is absolutely just a massive sign, because obviously you're not going to put it in the front if you're going to do something weird, and there's usually no reason not to try and wall off with it, so you see the Evo Chamber in the front here from Lambo. No Roach Roaring yet, so Serral gets to see all this. He will cancel the Evo Chamber once those lings have gone. Serral's own Roach Roaring coming up, so Serral has got a Bane Nest, but he's going to go Roach Roaring too. And if Serral just gets to about a 10-worker lead and then makes Roaches, a lot of the time that is kind of what you need to defend attacks like this. So we'll see if he does hold down the Roach button at the right time. The danger could be if he doesn't see this for long enough, he might start an upgrade, for example, although I don't think the Evo Chamber will be in time before the Roaches are seen by Overlords, so this should be moving across the map shortly from Lambo. Let's see if we can catch Serral off guard, as we are still droning. We're going way past the 10-worker lead. We're going to like 15+ worker lead for Serral.
Oh, God. Well, this could be great for Lambo. Got a bit of that jump start as well in the very first game of the series. Serral now trying to get some units, but he's also going to be supply blocked. So that's an issue. Building a spine crawler is going to have to be the way forward, as many as he can. And Pool of Queens, buy some time. It's not much time to buy, man. The attack's already here. Not even going to wait for many Ravagers at all. None, in fact, and just flood with Lings.
Couple of Banelings being used. Lambo's Banes didn't do much. Serral's Banes have been a little bit better. The Roaches continuing through. Want to make sure they put their damage onto meaningful units here. Hitting that third hatchery doesn't really do too much for you right now. Spines are going to finish on the natural. I mean, obviously, eventually killing the third base is nice, and you might just have to settle for that, because attacking into the two Spines, I'm not sure Lambo has the lead to do that necessarily. He is droning behind this, and he is going to even out the worker count. Spine moving over here, and just feels as though this is whittling down for Lambo. There is not enough, and
Wow.
Serral is going to just, I mean, honestly do the Serral thing where it's like, he's in trouble! Wow, it's actually a really easy hold. Like, this just didn't look scary at all.
No, apparently not. That looked much scarier when Lambo was going across the map than it did when he was actually attacking a third base. That's pretty amazing. So Serral doesn't hold on to a drone lead for very long, is the interesting thing about this type of game because of the timing of the, well, not really all in, as we can see, a dedicated attack, shall we say. The layers can start at a similar time, the +1s could start at a similar time, and the third hatcheries are both sustaining a similar number of workers. But Lambo does have a little bit more pause on the drones than Serral, with having to build up his army again. So we do see that natural ebb and flow of the ZVZ that is favoring Serral, but considering his pretty spectacular defense, not really by that much.
Yeah, I suppose it did enough for Lambo, right? Like, it was enough to kind of even this game out more or less. Maybe Serral still has the slight edge, but yeah, no, you know, with how good the defense looked, you maybe expected more, but it did cost him some roaches, and he did have to pull away from the third, and he did have to build double spine crawler as well, right? So these are all things that kind of happened. Did he actually cancel a spine crawler? Am I crazy? Either way, there's only one spine.
Yeah, very last second.
Oh, okay, cool. Then you only built one spine crawler. He's now going to go into the spire as the lair finishes too, so that's his plan for continuing on here, and we'll set up for that. So definitely looking to keep on being kind of tricksy at this point. Like I say, turn a good defense into a little bit of a lead. Maybe we could have expected more, but I think with the spire coming down, that could be a big lead for him very soon. Lambo with the Overlord speed might be able to get a scout on that. At the very least, with Overlord speed, you can bring your Overlords back home more easily, and that might actually be a pretty big part of this.
Yeah, Spire is not going to be seen. Uh-oh. Now, he did see, like, gases. It's really not totally impossible. Okay, good.
Wow,
Good. Because he hasn't seen the natural at all yet. Okay, the Overlord also goes into the natural. He is finally going to see that Spire. Come on.
Yeah,
There it is.
Oh, Overseer lives as well. Nope, it doesn't. Didn't get there.
All right, well, we get the scout in the end from Lambo, who is now going to go Overlord making mode as he's supply blocked, so he's going to make 6 Overlords. He's going to start 2 Dropper Lords. Apparently, his response to this is to say, let's go across the map and kill you with, I guess the Dropper Lords are going to take the Queens, but there's only 3, about to be 5. I don't love it, but I will wait to be convinced.
I don't love it very much either, because he's still getting +1 Carapace. He's even going...
Side.
Oh, I do like this a lot more. Just harassment, I think, is great.
Yes.
If he was going to all in from that point, that would have been so weird.
Yeah, I just made a bad assumption on where those Overlords were. It just came to my mind. I was like, that must be it. But no, the Overlords were on the bottom. There's just going to be some link harassment. That's kind of cute. Into the main base we go. Let's see what we can get done here. We begin to unload in the corner, and if nothing else, I'll pull a few units of Serral into the main. Serral now responding, now pulling in this direction, and Lambo's still going to get in for maybe a Queen, a Roach, a couple drones. Ravager morphs. Roach finally goes down. Yeah, this did nothing. 1 Roach. Cool.
Well, now that we have a little bit of time to talk about it, I did look into Serral's stats since Katowice.
Yes.
And ZVZ has literally lost 1 game in 20. So 95% victory there. Overall versus all the races, he's only lost 12 games out of 94. So it's actually pretty insane.
That's pretty disgusting. That's like a Serral stat sheet and pretty much no one else's stat sheet. Serral is actually going to take an attack in over here. He has got a little bit more army supply. Can he really turn that into a fight on this side of the map? He is absolutely trying. Cross of Bars forced him back. He's killing a few drones as well. Obviously, he has had the mutas up to kind of force Lambo around a little bit. The burrow forward from Lambo to give him a better fight and also a bit of regen, but there is Serral getting some detection or so because the Overseer sieges up, so he does get that vision. That helps him out as he continues to take this fight, and the supplies just keep on favoring Serral at the moment. He might get forced back in the end, but reinforcements should be good for him based on the numbers we're seeing.
Yeah, he's got a bit more of a bank still afterwards, getting some spine crawlers ready to take on the possible next step of ZVZ if this attack doesn't continue working out, but he is also continuing to attack. The Ravagers coming in, the upgrades about to finish with a slight upgrade timing lead. I mean, very slight indeed, but he is actually hitting it because he is continuing to be aggressive. That's actually still impacting this battle. That's pretty amazing. If Lambo can hold, he'll even things up in literally 6 seconds. But then I am worried about his ability to remax compared to Serral's. And he's actually going to jump on top of this, try and go after the Ravagers, but that's maybe a little bit too far forward. Muta's not finding any success in the back lines, of course, but finally Lambo's, I suppose, defender's advantage kicking in, letting him hold on, and now those upgrades are even. Now he does have those Hydras that maybe one day can turn into Lurkers, but I guess not while he's under so much pressure.
That's a long way off, really, isn't it? Serral going to dive up onto this base this time around. Lambo losing track, didn't have any vision in the center. That's the benefit of the Mutalists, right? Pushing the Overlords back, and Serral being here for so long now naps himself a base kill. So that is a big pick off. At the same time, Muta's going to hit down an Extractor 2, and Serral just getting out of there. I mean, Lambo's had some decent fights where he's been able to jump on the army of Serral and hold him off, but losing a base is going to be quite impactful at this stage, and Lambo's killing a couple of drones across the map with some of these roaches, but that full investment into like tunneling claws and so just hasn't really seen much of anything, you know, come to fruition. Like Serral set up a couple spines defensively, and that's about it. We're going to base trade a little bit here because, well, I guess Lambo feels like that's his best option while the armies are equal.
Well, yeah, I guess Serral was hoping that he'd play Ring Around the Rosie. But they both were very aware of their armies moving past each other and both still committed. Who ends up winning out in this regard? Serral very quick to replace his Roach Warren somewhere safer, I suppose, than the back of his naturals and the back of his main. He could still go into Mutas if the Hydra count ever gets supremely low. So I guess, yeah, Serral's coming out of like all the advantages, right? Worker, army, technology, everything.
I thought he's just getting it done faster as well, right? Just feels like he's getting there so much quicker than his opponents, so I'm going to go ahead and say this definitely looks as though it's kind of Serral. I mean, he just has an army supply lead still. He got so many more roaches up where Lambo did not, and yeah, at this point, just see what happens. Lambo is actually chasing down a portion of Serral's army here that was kind of looking to contest, as Serral's rest of his army continues in the main base, a few roaches on the forward hatchery as well. I mean, Lambo essentially just coming back home, realizing he's not going to win straight up in the base trade, so he's, I assume, going to force something of a fight soon and see if he can make it happen. But he's down a lot of army supply in comparison.
Yeah, he would have had to have caught little segments of Serral's army, which is possible in a base race. You know, things get confusing, but he sees that is not going to happen, so he taps out. And Serral starts off the series 1-0, despite Lambo's best efforts, truly. With the attack looking like it was sizing up to be good, and it kind of at least was a wash. That's okay too. Then dealing with the Muta is almost no problem. It was just a little bit of a troublesome fight on the 4th, and then the pseudo base trade was always going to be a bit of a question mark, but clearly did not go in his favor. But I don't necessarily... I can't say that there is anything obvious when Lambo chose to go for the base trade that would say that that was a silly idea. You know, I can certainly see both sides of the argument and why Lambo did what he did. It just, the numbers were evident to us very quickly.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Mutalist count wasn't ridiculous, which would have made it maybe a bad idea to base trade or anything like that. I think it was a fine point. You know, he just lost his 3rd hatchery, so in his eyes, maybe it's like, well, I go now, the armies are even, and maybe I can kind of take away the advantage of his extra base. You know, in worst case, maybe if he chases me back across, I kill a base, then turn and fight and trade somewhat decently too. I don't think it was a bad idea. Just Serral, like you said, he just came out ahead in every single way. You know, from the base trade, like, not a bad idea, just didn't work out execution-wise, and here we stand. Dragon Scales from map number 2. Serral leads by 1. And we just get ourselves readied up for a second game of ZVZ.
Yeah, Lambo did make one pretty big mistake, and that was losing track of the army. Certainly true, but as you said, it was a forced error, and you just taking out all the vision. But we do have Serral already up 1. In the top left of Dragon Scales for Basilisk, he is Serral.
In the bottom right, our Blue Zerg from the Shopify Rebellion, Lambo.
Just still admiring Serral's history.
It is actually crazy. And I think the thing is as well, like, you know, cast a few of his games here and a few of his games there, like, it's been very convincing, you know? Like, it has been just really, really solid from him. So I definitely feel like that has been a little bit of a factor as well. It's been very cool to watch, and just so convincing some of the matches he's been playing. It's been very cool to see.
Yeah, some of these 3-0s or tier 0s were absolute stomps against, you know, still pretty good players like a Beyond or a Clem or something. But yeah, again, 36-2 in matches since Katowice.
He was his other loss.
He is on a tear.
And
and Clem back at a Pigsty Festival.
Yeah, Clem and Pigsty.
Yeah.
Pretty
otherwise,
reasonable losses.
yes, and although like it's definitely gotten revenge on them at multiple points too. It is just the baseline expectation for Serral, so sometimes it can really just be like I feel like we don't get as impassioned by Serral's like victories and amazingness because it's the baseline at this point.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the golden child continues to go do golden things. So the parents are like, yeah, whatever. But this special child needs help. In that, you know, the child in my mind is like Max Pax, for instance, right? So the Protoss, the poor Protoss kid who is struggling, you know, the entire race is struggling. We really hyped that up, man. Watch, you know, how cool it was when Max Pack 3-0 Showtime made Showtime look like a fool. That was freaking awesome. But Serral doesn't. We're like, yes, good job, Serral. Yes, that's exactly correct. Yep, good job.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's continuing to do that.
Maybe if he keeps this win percentage up for an entire year, we can be impressed again. Because he did have that ridiculous kind of streak as well in 2018, right? Like, that's the thing. Serral's done crazy, ridiculously good things before. So, like, it is the baseline. He set the expectations at that level for us. So, yeah, that's kind of meant to happen at that point, no?
Yes. So, even as he made 3-0 here today, and usually that'd be pretty amazing, especially because Lambo is not playing poorly. He has gotten to this point by really looking strong. Like 3-0ing Harsum, for instance. I know it's, you know, Harsum isn't Serral, but it just that's a real statement to just get a clean 3-0 across any of the players in the round of 16.
Yeah.
In Serral, like, could just 3-0 and he'd be like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Looking at the history, yep, no problem. All right, then moving on. But we kind of want that Lambo victory because, well, it would be different. Like, literally, Serral sometimes makes it so same that it gets hard to cheer for sometimes, I suppose.
To be fair, though, he's not been the most successful in Europe, like in these regionals, right? Like, he's not the one that's won 5 of these tournaments. That's Clem, who he might face in the semis.
Hey.
So, I mean, that could be a lot of fun as well, right? Just from that point of view, that Serral actually, when it comes to regionals, he's only won 1, I want to say.
I think so.
Yeah, which is really ridiculous when we consider we had at least, like, 9 of these, I believe, or 8, something like that. Like, really ridiculous to only have won 1 this entire time.
That's very true. And if he does win here, he might just be facing the nemesis that takes those victories, that takes the regionals, which is Clem. But the next match will be determined literally here today, watching this best of 5, and the next one is Clem Laser. That's kind of nice. We do have another Roach Warren being added on faster for Lambo. Now, this one's not being hidden, but it is still coming down without an evolution chamber. You can see that Serral is going for what we would call the more typical macro setup for a Zerg versus Zerg. So Lambo, is he going to attack? I mean, Serral's also going to be noticing these things, well, when he actually gets close enough to see the front wall anyways.
Yeah, when he actually gets to the front, we'll see if Lambo wants to commit. Serral's just going +1 missiles himself, by the way, and just Roach Run of his own, so it looks like we're just going to drone it up and just not see anything too crazy at the end of the day. A little bit of Ling Bane in the center here from Lambo moving forward, and he has up quite a bit of army supplies. He stops those Roaches, but I mean, the extra round of drones kind of mean, you know, starts one more now too. Doesn't really feel like he's going to be aggressive, and if you just move across the map with this kind of half commitment, then Serral's just going to make his own Roaches hold, and he's ahead in the lair, he's ahead in the +1. Don't really know what this does for Lambo. Serral sees Roaches being mates as well, so he gets that pickup. I mean, it just feels like Lambo comes out in a bad spot. Unless he gets across the map to do something, I just don't see what he really does with Serral having the information.
Also a bit confused. It kind of felt like Lambo was going to try and scare Serral, but how much does Serral really get scared by this amount of attack? I guess he could think that it's more dedicated than it is, of course.
Yeah.
And he could really over-defend, but by the looks of it, he is defending pretty perfectly. He's not reading this incorrectly. He actually, I think, just canceled, like, maybe a defensive spine crawler.
Yeah, he did.
I think that's, yeah, exactly what it is. And he already went back in the drones. Like, he read this so quickly that I guess, yeah, Lambo definitely was trying to trick the guy. It really didn't work. Serral just still comes out ahead because he has that +1 missile already on the way.
Yeah, down a couple of workers. Workers will even out in a moment, and then we're on 3 base saturation each, so not a huge difference there to have gotten there just slightly quicker from Lambo. And yeah, just being ahead +1 and being able to afford the Spire while everything else starts to look pretty much even, right? That just kind of tells you where we're at too. Serral, if you can get those few mutas out, can be very annoying. We are going to try and drop a Lord again. As Lambo this time, the drop Lord is at home, so we'll see what he wants to pick up. We'll see what we take across the map. Could just be setting up a Baneling drop or so. Definitely a possibility. So yeah, something just to keep our eyes on as we get this going.
I know Lambo's pretty smart. He does usually know exactly what he's trying to get the response of his opponent to do, but I like the idea of kind of like small mind games, ones that could just offset your opponent a little bit without truly dedicating to like an actual all-in. They just don't really seem to be working out. Maybe that will change as Lambo actually, I was gonna say moves across the map, but is he though?
No,
Yes, he is.
I mean, he's gonna pressure on a little bit and maybe try and get a cancel on the 4th. We'll see how successful it can be. He's gonna move up here. Serral's Unit Roaches are fairly nearby to come and respond. We'll see if he has enough. He's a little bit down because he has built Mutalisk. So Lambo with the identification of that, he did scout the Spire, hence the Hydrogen he's built as well. But Serral has enough Roaches to hold on. It wasn't a ridiculous amount of mutas, very manageable. And Serral loses about 5 workers across the board here. The Dropper Lord got denied now, and he's actually going to start chasing. He's going to catch a few Lings here too, and does Serral have some potential to keep on going across the map now?
Maybe, but it looks like he's not going to do that. He is building up not just Roaches, but also Banelings, so he is changing the composition a little bit. From last game, for instance, where he did just max out on Roach Ravager. The Banelings being added in, clearly want to hit those Hydras. Now, it's actually still kind of a gutsy move, isn't it, from Serral? Because it's possible that Lambo does not overmake Hydras. So if say, like, Lambo says, like, oh, it's only 5 mutas again, like, I'm going to build 7 Hydras, I guess, something like that. The Banelings really add enough compared to what will be still a overwhelmingly Roach army from Lambo? Or is this going to look a little bit weird? I guess it depends if they get a full surround or not anyways.
Yeah, a few factors, really. I feel like if you're maxed out as Serral and you have a lot of Banes, it's kind of nice anyways, if it's max versus max, and as long as you have, like, the right amount of Roaches to stand up after, because even if you just hit Roaches, for the most part, right, like, softening those up can go a long way. Really just depends what they can hit. If they, you know, there's a great spread and everything, then maybe it won't be so hot. Bane Speed about to finish here. We are ready to take this fight as Lambo arrives. Serral rolls forward. We start to split backwards. The second round of Banelings begins to move through a couple of nasty biles, but honestly, just looks as though Serral has plenty to shut this down. And while the supplies are pretty even, Serral's going to get a few extra kills on the tail end of this, and that's where the 20 supply difference really opens up from.
Yeah, no, that's so worked out. Lambo a bit surprised. He definitely didn't have, like, his Ravagers and Hydras behind a wall of Roaches that were then split. Or, like, you know, slightly moved back whenever the Banelings got close. It really wasn't ideal, and that's part of the power of the Baneling attack. Baneling composition, no matter what you're up against, is that it really does just blitz. It just jumps on top of you, and preferably before you really know that it's the plan of the other Zerg. So that is what happened. Serral with a super convincing game number 2, and every step of the way. When it came to responding to that little tiny kind of twist, like, you know, should you not keep droning? Serral's like, no, I should keep droning. I'm fine. Once again, controlling the skies with the mutas and then taking a really good engagement.
Yeah,
probably feels very, very frustrating for Lambo. What do you do against this guy?
would love to kind of hear what Lambo was thinking about that game, just in terms of what he did, because it definitely felt like we were trying to mind game / trick. It just didn't work out, whether that, you know, something got scoured or he messed it up a little bit himself, because Lambo is a smart guy, right? And it's very rare that you see, you know, someone like Lambo make mistakes in that kind of way where it's like, oh, it really doesn't make sense, like, because usually there's such a good idea behind what Lambo is doing most of the time. So I wonder if he misread the situation, if he made it like an execution error, because, like, it just, like, out of all players to kind of do something like that in ZVZ, I feel like Lambo is the last person, because he's the first to kind of be like, hey, that was dumb, you know? Like, he will come out and say this about builds, and I feel like this is one of those builds where he'd be like, maybe that was not smart.
Yeah, I do think Lambo tries to understand the potential of just being different You know what I mean? Like, I think Lambo is mostly a player that says this is the correct way to do it, and there's a reason it's the correct way to do it, and doesn't just kind of like go by necessarily feeling or really like trickery that doesn't really add up to a whole lot. But I feel like he could be convinced to do it every now and again, just if, a laser maybe is whispering in his ear and says, but it'll confuse the heck out of the guy. And Lambo's like, I guess it would.
Yeah, I mean,
So.
This is like the devil on the shoulder. Lambo's his own angel, but then Helaise is the devil on the shoulder, like, no, do it.
Pretty much, yeah. Because that definitely felt like something that Laser moved to me, right? Laser's been experimenting a lot with the non-evolution chamber, Roachborn forward wall off that sometimes turns into a Nidus Worm, right? But I don't know if Lambo's going to do that.
Up right, Blue Zerg is Lambo, just to do the official introductions.
So do the thing. Bottom left is Serral.
Yeah, do the thing. Just in case someone out there is really concerned that we're not doing them.
Yes, exactly. I don't know where they're spawning! Oh, Lambo gonna go for a pool first. Is that a drone? That is a drone. To the left. To the left. What's it gonna do? Is it gonna build a hatchery?
That would be fun.
Oh my god. Lambo! Listening to the devil on his shoulder.
I mean, I guess after the first 2 games, you're like, right, it's time to pull out all the stops. Let's make it make no sense, and he'll be confused as hell.
Yeah. Well, Serral certainly will be. This will definitely confuse the heck out of the guy. Serral's Overlord is going to see no creep spread, and he's going to get that panic of, okay, am I being all in? He's going to confirm there's literally no hatchery and say, well, I got to be being all in. Then he'll defend the all in that isn't on its way, stay confused probably for 30 seconds, and then maybe go out and scout the gold bases. If he thinks about it. I mean, it's such a weird thing in ZVZ that you just kind of, in the heat of the moment, it's out of your brain. And even if he does scout it, we know that gold bases in ZVZ have always been tricky because sometimes it looks like they're trying to be greedy, but what it really is an excuse not to build as many drones and to be offensive, right? So no matter how you slice it, scouted or unscouted, this is going to confuse Serral. So I'm looking forward to his response.
Yeah, it starts up a spine crawler, correct response based on what he's currently seeing. Just gold bases in general don't come to mind on this map because there's a watchtower in the way, And I did not realize that an egg could hold a watchtower. Did you know that?
Wow, we learned something
today. Is it
today.
the hatchery or was it the egg? I actually don't know.
No, it's got to be the egg,
gotta
right?
Be the egg.
No, buildings don't.
There's no way a building can, yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
Is it the larva?
Well, there was no lava. There's only an egg right now, right? So it's
Oh, you're right. Yeah, to begin with. Yeah, you're right. It's the egg.
This is bonkers.
Amazing.
This is so OP. What? Now the queen.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. I never knew that. That's fascinating.
So Serral's proper confused at this point. He's had nothing come over to his side of the map, but he sees a hatchery building now. He's going to just go with his gut, build a bunch of lings and banelings. And I think he's right about that. Because, again, unscouted or scouted, I feel like the worst thing you do about this build is nothing. Is just to be like, I don't understand. So at least taking, action is going to be better than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Lambo is he's actually going to be found more from those banelings, so that's going to delay his banes a little while longer. Obviously, take note that, in this case, you do not really have your units all joined up as Lambo, who's now actually going to launch an attack on the gold, so that's already in trouble. The one bane of Lambo about to get here. Serral just split off a few links to deal with it. I don't mind the cost there because it was really about cleaning that baneling up quickly, so the rest of the links could keep on action, and well, this gold base is currently just dysfunctional, and Serral knows these banelings only just started making, so generally going to go ahead and say that Serral's having a very good start to this, and this is just not really working out for Lambo yet. We'll see if he can make the difference, but now he's lost drones and a queen, and just in general is going to end up in a weird spot.
It is. I feel like being pretty good for Serral. His micro was pretty on point, but there is that weird stopping point when you're still building up the 3 bases in ZVZ where that inject doesn't pop, so the momentum can be lost. And that could be the moment that Lambo maybe fits in a queen or a spine-crawler or something, but just trying to afford the lings right now. Hardly any more room for anything else. And Serral, just continuing to pump away on Lings, is still winning out in these little micro battles. Okay, I didn't expect that to happen.
It just kills the tower, yeah. Because the hatchery's there, the rocks don't actually spawn. That's a feature, apparently.
I just, you know, the splash is taking down those collapsible rocks that don't collapse, they just get destroyed.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, I guess that's supposed to happen.
That's fun. Serral behind this, by the way, is just up 7 workers, so at this point, if he just keeps making units, he's pretty golden, right? Like, I mean, he's in a great spot, he's continuing to trade well, and he's got Rotron finishing up too, so that should generally just help you as well on top of all the rest of this, and it's kind of exactly where we're going. Serral's still kind of dominating, shutting down some of these morphing Banelings as well, so just keeping this game a little bit in his favor throughout. That's a big Baneling connection, though, so that might be a turning point that should give Lambo some breathing room. For the first time in a little while, he will have a chance to actually have things settle down and to figure out where he's really at.
Well, he's behind 11 workers, and he's not on roaches, and Serral is. Now, roaches in this early game situation don't necessarily just automatically win, because overwhelming Lings getting surrounds is still kind of effective. But I would suspect Serral does win with these roaches, right? Because he has an almost equal number of Ling Banelings, so the roaches are just a cherry on top. And they're going to be able to help out sniping Banelings too. So this is just a good move. This is what I'm getting down to. It's just a good move. Serral is going to continue being aggressive to punish everything. He just killed 6 drones anyways, furthering his drone lead. And yeah, unless Serral really messes up, which gets less likely with roaches, Serral is going to get a 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, just the numbers kind of telling the story. 80 to 46 supply. Of course, roaches do that a little bit. Lambo has a bit of money in the bank, but yeah, I mean, this gold base is going to die. That's like one less hatchery you have to work with. There is the Link counterattack. I mean, this is what Lambo can do. Use the mobility that Serral doesn't necessarily have. And use this to his favor. Use this to his advantage, but it's just not going to matter.